Hello, everyone. This is Zami from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the Oregon Short Film Festival. And right now we are gearing up for our spring event, which is going to take place on March 17th at the beautiful historic Clinton Street Theater in Portland, Oregon. And today we're talking with one of our participating filmmakers. John Reddy is the director behind The Diary of Valerie Thompson and Jackie. John, thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Thanks for having me.
So these are really interesting movies. They're very short, but they're highly emotive. They're highly personal, and you kind of really dive into two different characters very intimately in such a short amount of time. And I'm curious, what inspired these two shorts?
So for Jackie, it deals with the aftermath of a miscarriage for the main character. And I had someone close to me, right a little bit before I wrote the movie, confide in me that they'd had a miscarriage
Mm,
and she hadn't told me for quite a while. And we have this weird thing societally where even though it's a really common thing, unfortunately, I think people feel weird talking about it. So just
right.
hoping by whatever two or three conversations somebody might have after seeing the movie, it just makes it a little more normal. So that way more
Yeah.
people feel comfortable talking about it. That's kind of what inspired that one. And
Okay.
then the Diary of Valerie Thompson was actually, I was sound mixing on a set for somebody where I met an actress and she had reached out to me about wanting to work together on a movie. So I asked her for some criteria of what kind of character type, personalities she'd be
Yeah.
interested in and what plots she would like to do. And she gave me a list of them. So I wrote that movie custom for her, and then she ghosted me.
Oh,
So I put it in my back pocket for a while, and I'm part of a film group in McMinnville known as the Second Saturday Film Club.
okay.
And they'll pick one movie to make every year, and they picked my movie. So myself and then another guy named Alexandra Bitz made the movie together, and that's how that one came to be.
Excellent. Okay, that's a crazy story. So you wrote it very specifically with an actress in mind, and then that didn't work out, but you were able to make it in the end. And I think the casting's great. Well, let's talk about Jackie a little bit. That it's a very personal story, and it reads emotionally really strong, and it's got a great ending. And I'm curious, what was the process of writing that like? I mean, is it difficult to write a story that deals with that type of loss and grief?
So the way that I went about writing that one is every once in a while when I put out a casting call, there'll be
Yeah,
some people that maybe they're not right for that part, but I can see that they try hard, like they're off book, they dress
totally.
like just the character, they're clearly talented,
Right.
and I'll keep a little list of them somewhere on my computer. And the actress Debbie Marr, who plays Jackie in the movie, was someone that I had seen through an audition for a previous project that ended up
Okay.
going to somebody else just because the character went a different way.
Right.
And I every once in a while I have like a little nugget of an idea in the back of my head, and I'll just kind of sit on it for a while. And I had one idea about somebody that just goes on a picnic in a graveyard quite often because um, one of the most peaceful places that I know of is actually where my grandpa's buried. I like to go out
Okay.
there and read whenever I'm back home on the East Coast. So I reached out to Debbie. I said I would like to work with you. Do you have any sort of thing that you like to make? So she wanted to do a drama, and I had that idea in the back of my head, and I just had that conversation with my close friend. So I wrote a first draft and I sent it to her, and she was pretty excited about it. So we just went ahead and scheduled it and shot the whole thing, and I think we did it in a little less than 2 days.
Awesome. And I'm curious, what was the shooting process like? Because there's so many scenes where Debbie has to act alone and has to emote and carry a scene by themselves. What was that process like?
Um, I, I I might have to ask for clarification on that question. Could you?
Oh yeah. Well, I was just wondering, what was what when you're guiding an actor through a scene solo and there's not a scene partner to bounce off of, because a lot of that is was run led by Jackie in this sort of personal emotive way. What's the directing process like on that? Do you let your actress kind of run with it, or were you needing to do a lot of input? What was that process like?
So thankfully for this one, for the main part, the director, some of them like to really insert themselves and like have a
Right.
very strong vision of like how they want the line to be delivered and,
Right.
what they want out of it. And that's good in some circumstances. Um, Most of the time with me, the people that I'm fortunate enough to have around me, I know that they've got it. So I just need to steer the ship a little bit. So for the most part, she was pretty spot on with it. I think the most I had to do as far as direction with Debbie was just a little more of the like bells and whistles of I just need your eye line over here a little bit,
Okay.
or
Totally.
just if we can articulate on that word a little bit more. But I mean, she had it, and I think at most needed 2 takes.
Okay.
So it was a these 2 movies are actually the easiest experiences I've had on set since
That's
moving
awesome.
down to Oregon.
I love that. Well, it's nice when you can rely on your actors and crew and cast to collaborate and bring that energy and make it a nice, smooth shooting process. I want to ask about the Diary of Valerie Thompson a little bit. Uh, I love that the character writing the diary makes an appearance and is dictating out loud and kind of having a conversation with Bridget, I believe the character's name is. Uh, how did you come up with that idea? Was that something that was kind of right at the outset you wanted to have that?
So one of the prompts that I got from the actress was about a lost diary, and
Okay.
from a lot of the writing classes I had in college, we would just be given like a newspaper article title or like a line that somebody would have to say. So I really like having a very vague
Okay.
guideline of where to go, and then just kind of see where it goes. And I also try to be as thrifty as possible because I'm not a man of great funds. So I'm like, let's see how few people can we write, and what can we make with it. So that's sort of the exigence of how that script came to be.
Okay. And I gotta commend the wardrobe. The 1950s wardrobe is awesome. Did you have to thrift that, or did you have a costuming person?
So there's somebody at the Gallery Theater in McMinnville called Beth Statz who has helped with costuming for various movies that have been made in McMinnville. So I sent her an email, and we picked a time where I could drive out there and we could walk through the costume shop. And
Awesome.
she's pretty knowledgeable about what was trendy at the time. I mean, I had my little Pinterest board as well,
Right.
and I've seen almost every episode of I Love Lucy, so I had like a little bit of an eye for what I wanted.
Okay. You know the
But she was
1950s.
really helpful. Sorry.
You know the 1950s.
Yeah, I was a fan.
Nice. Well, I love that aspect, and those little details really, drive that point forward. And I love the first shot on the saddle shoes, and you realize that this is someone from the '50s that's kind of, spiritually or emotionally transported there.
Mhm.
I'm curious, what did you learn from these processes? What did you take away from these films? Do you have new insights on filmmaking?
Well, with Jackie, one of the things that I really tried to work hard on when I was doing that one has been one that I've been trying to focus on with everything since I've learned about it. Um, I saw a very helpful. There's a student that was writing an essay about film techniques in Korean dramas, and they
Okay.
really focus on boxing and negative space, and putting characters on if they're on the same page, they're usually going to be boxed together, whether there's like a door frame in the foreground, or if they're on
Okay.
a separate page, maybe you'll see them having a discussion in a diner, but they're in 2 different windows where you see the characters.
Okay.
um, and the less space that a character tends to have on screen, the more oppressive the atmosphere is. So, when Jackie was starting to have a harder and harder time coping with, not having someone that she could connect with in person
Totally.
over, uh, her miscarriage, we just had less and less space for her to breathe on camera. And then with
Right.
the Diary of Valerie Thompson, the main thing that I was really working on there was, as far as the soundtrack goes, I kind of wanted to assign an instrument to Bridget and an instrument to Valerie. So I believe I had Valerie was a flute and Bridget was a piano.
Mm.
And I made one the melody and one the counter melody. And then when they come together, they make a really nice piece of music. And then when Valerie's gone, suddenly it sounds very like melancholy, which kind of
Totally.
goes with the vibe of the scene there. So that's the main things that I was learning and actively working on doing a good job for with those two movies.
Wow, I love that so much, and I mean, those are the great details that really sell the quality of these films. And it's interesting because when you mention it, I didn't quite notice it at the time, but when you're mentioning these kind of psychological attitudes and these emotions that you're trying to instill, I was totally feeling that. And when I picture Jackie, I picture a nice, tight, close shot where I'm feeling very anxious. I love that. That's great. Well, John, tell me, are you working on any new shorts right now?
So I'm actually sorry. So it's the room where all my plants are. So we got a gnat or two flying
Oh,
around.
nice.
I am partway through my first feature film,
Oh, nice.
which is a mockumentary, and I've been shooting just little bits of it in January, a little bit in February, and I'm doing the bulk of it in April and May. So hopefully it'll be finished before the summer, and then ready to go out around Halloween time.
Excellent.
And then I'm doing a half hour horror comedy crossover between Scooby Doo and Garfield to the vibe of Riverdale.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like a high budget meme, if I was to
Okay,
summarize it in one way.
totally.
So yeah, that's what I have on my plate. And then this month I was hired to assistant direct a feature called The Great Divide, which is entirely comprised of actors from this class taught by Christina Haddad called the Actors Lab. And it's being produced by Sarah Brody Webb, Marjorie Marcellus, and John Skip, who wrote and directed it as well.
Nice.
So I've been up to about 3 a.m. the last 3 or 4 days putting all the call sheets together
Wow,
because it's a
nice.
lot of emails and a lot of phone numbers.
Well, I love to hear that you have so much momentum going, and it's cool to see that you're working on projects that are totally different than these shorts. So you have a varied palette, and I'm excited to see a lot more from you. That Garfield Scooby Doo Riverdale crossover sounds wild, and I need to see that. But is there anything else you'd like to add about Jackie or the Diary of Valerie Thompson?
I hope that you enjoy them and be comfortable to have uncomfortable conversations with people because you just don't know what somebody's going through.
I love that. I really enjoyed them, and I'm pretty sure everyone's going to love them on March 17th at the Oregon Short Film Festival. You do such a good job of conveying these characters in such a tight, concise, short format. And those details, like you mentioned, they really, really read and really, really contribute to the high quality. So, John, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to screening these on the big screen.
Thank you. It was nice chatting with you.
You too. Take care.
You too.